generation iPad Air was the next flagship iPad following the 4th generation iPad, and it was announced on October 22nd, 2013, and released on November 1st, 2013, a decade ago as of making this video. The iPad Air, as its name suggests, introduced the all-new design with thin bezels that had already been seen with the iPad mini a year prior. However, it also received the upgraded Apple A7 chip compared to the A6X found on the 4th generation iPad, making the iPad Air 1, alongside its smaller counterpart, the iPad mini 2, the first iPads to receive Apple's first 64-bit processors. The A7 chip in the iPad Air 1st generation has higher clock speeds than the iPhone 5S and I believe the iPad mini 2, making the iPad Air 1 the world's most powerful handheld device at the time of its release. It started at $499 for the base 16GB Wi-Fi configuration, but could be maxed out to 128GB of storage with cellular connectivity support for only $929. Wow, that's so cheap. To be fair, it was worth it at the time. It was available in silver, which I have here, and in space gray. The 64GB and 128GB iPad Air 1 variants were discontinued on October 16, 2014 due to the release of the iPad Air 2, while a 16GB and 32GB iPad Air 1st generations remained available brand new until March 21st, 2016, when the iPad Pro 9.7 debuted. The 1st generation iPad Air proceeded to receive mainstream iOS support until September 2019, when it did not get iPadOS 13. However, it has proceeded to receive security updates as late as January 2023 with iOS 12.5.7, but future updates are unlikely. I got this iPad for Christmas back in 2016 as an upgrade for my 3rd generation iPad, and it was one of the worst iPads I used when it was my daily driver. Because my 8-year-old self thought that iOS 10 was incredible, and I did not know that updating iOS devices harms them, I immediately updated this iPad to iOS 10, even though it came with 9 when I got it, because I wanted iOS 10. However, I soon grew to loathe the UI changes of iOS 10, including the stupid press home to open feature, and the black clock app UI, which I really hated at the time because I preferred white. I also wanted a newer iPad than this when I got it, so I was still slightly irritated by that. I didn't despise the UI changes of iOS 11 at the time when it released, but I still disliked how it removed support for 32-bit apps. My iPad also annoyingly froze frequently on iOS 11. Though to be fair, I think everybody had iOS 11 bugs, so it should not be blamed on this iPad. iOS 12 is more stable than iOS 11 on this iPad, but when iOS 12 was current, I became a bigger tech enthusiast and began to hate this iPad even more because it was old. I knew it was bound to get cut off from iOS support, and because I was so impressed by the 2018 iPad Pro, it was newly released at the time with its all-new incredible bezel-less design. Even though this wasn't the fault of this iPad, it shattered in July 2019 due to me dropping it without a case because its original case broke, which only made my experience with this iPad worse. In fact, the digitizer eventually stopped working in certain areas to the point where I had to borrow my mother's 2015 iPad Pro until I got my iPad Pro 9 at 7 inches and my iPad 7th generation back in Christmas 2019. I have since gotten this iPad repaired and still do have some fond memories of it, though. I also want to downgrade this iPad back to iOS 10.3.3 because iOS 12 is fairly slow on here, but I've had no luck doing that so far. But for Apple collectors interested in this iPad, they retail for around $50 to $80 secondhand on retailers like eBay. But did you ever own a 1st generation iPad Air when they were new? Please comment that down below. As always, thank you all for watching this video. I am the iTunes family, and peace out.